Tuesday, Tillman Fertitta has been confirmed by the Senate as our new ambassador designate to Italy and San Marino. Yesterday afternoon in the Oval Office, Secretary Rubio swore in Warren Stevens as the new U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom. Thomas Barak also took the oath of office yesterday as the new U.S. ambassador to Turkey. And David Perdue took the oath of office yesterday as ambassador to the People's Republic of China. President Trump selected each of these talented individuals as his ambassadors to advance U.S. priorities in each of those countries. Yesterday, Treasury Secretary Bessent also announced the signing of a historic agreement to establish the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This economic partnership marks a significant milestone in U.S.-Ukraine relations. This initiative will attract private sector investment, create jobs, develop secure supply chains, and drive economic growth, providing a solid foundation for Ukraine's recovery from the war. President Trump envisioned this partnership between the American people and the Ukrainian people to show both sides' commitment to lasting peace and prosperity in Ukraine. With that in mind, President Trump and Secretary Rubio have identified Ambassador Julie Davis to serve as the chargé d'affaires in Kyiv during this critical moment as we move toward a peace agreement to stop the bloodshed. Ambassador Davis is a distinguished career member of the Senior Foreign Service, holding the rank of Minister Counselor. With a robust background in international diplomacy, she has served in pivotal roles over the last 30 years. Ambassador Davis is currently serving as the United States Ambassador to Cyprus, a position she has held since February 2023. This moment in time is one that calls for the department's best, and Ambassador Davis is the President and Secretary's choice. Also, a quick point of personal privilege. In 100 days, I and the spokesperson's office have had 100 press engagements. This is on top of the Secretary's unprecedented transparency in interviews, gaggles, and other press. The Trump administration is, as we now can tell, the most transparent administration in history. And this matters because it allows the American people to not just see what's going on, but which they of course deserve, but to be a genuine part of it. It's also a reminder to all of us who is in charge here. The American people tapped President Donald Trump to represent them in this historic endeavor. And with that, I will take as many of your questions as I possibly can. Yes.
Do you want to do
yeah, well, let's do it. We'll talk to Andrea Mitchell. Yes, ma'am.
Would the Secretary consider a request from the President to replace Mike Waltz temporarily or in another fashion, if that is something that the President thinks would be good for the country? Is that something that the Secretary would consider?
I'm not going to jump ahead of thinking what the Secretary might say or do in any context. What we do know is that the President is, in fact, the one who is running this country. It is his leadership and vision that has set the tone and the trajectory and the policy. He has put together a cabinet that understands and operates within a commitment to the nature of the President's vision. And we do know, of course, within all aspects of this, especially with foreign policy, there has been tremendous success in our foreign policy, and of course it continues. And that is a dynamic that's not going to change, but is a result of President Trump's vision and his day-to-day work in making the situation possible and functional. And of course, I would say certainly with what we've done in 100 days with getting people to the table, the nature of what is happening with the Houthis, the fact that Iran is at the table, it is a tremendously successful foreign policy, and whatever the President decides, it will be successful.
Tammy,
all right, now, so we've got a lot of activity down here in the first row.
Something that's just come out from the President.
Yeah.
So
all right, great, terrific, terrific.
The President has just written on Truth Social that Mike Waltz is going to become the new U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations.
Well, there you
no
go.
longer the National Security
Fabulous.
Advisor. And in addition to that, he says that in the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as National Security Advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Do you know how long he's going to be serving in both roles?
It is clear that I just heard this from you. This is the magic.
No heads up that this was
Well,
coming
I have some insights as to the potential of certain things that might happen. But when the president, and this of course is all presidential decisions, right? So I'm with the State Department. It is, as I think would be clear to all of you, you don't want to get ahead of your skis in drawing conclusions or speculating about what may occur. And you can have a general sense of what's possible, and then you see that manifest usually. But I think the one thing I've learned is that things don't happen until the president says they're going to happen. So the fact that is, which was obviously Truth Social. Yeah, so that is the miracle of modern technology and the social media. So that is an exciting moment here. I think that, as I know Secretary Rubio, this is a man who, as I think you all know, has worn several hats from day one in managing the nature of what's happened here at the State Department, at USAID, and he's someone who's well known by the president. The president makes perfect assessments about who would implement his agenda, and in this case, he's chosen certainly the secretary and Mr. Waltz to facilitate his agenda moving forward. Not entirely surprising, I have to say, and good news for the American people.
You said you had some insights that this might happen. Could you just elaborate
I think
on that a little bit?
No, I can't. But thanks for asking.
Do you have any? How from the insights that you do have, knowing the secretary,
Sure.
and knowing this building, how do you see this working, and what advantages do you see with Secretary Rubio's experience in this new role?
Well, and also his experience certainly in the Senate for so long. He knows everyone in the city. He knows how the city and how the departments, how the government works. He has a great connection, certainly as a senator, with his constituents here in this building, with the people who work in this building, and with the American people now as they get to know him. So his experience also, really, we've seen him be at the White House several times a week. His close working relationship day to day with the president happens for a reason, because they work well together. They clearly have been in an environment where they've gotten to know each other very well. And we've seen the secretary operate we have to admit, these last 100 days, it's like hanging on to a freaking bullet train. I mean, it is a fast dynamic with people who have a journey that is set with a goal that has been determined. And it's staffed with men and women who understand what the agenda is and how to get it done. Now, this is obviously the president knows everybody in his cabinet, and all those cabinet members have staffs, and every department has people that he gets to know and that make a difference in how the departments work. So when we think about how is Secretary Rubio going to do this, well, it's like, how does President Trump run the United States? You have people around you. It's not just you, right? These aren't single individuals working every day and you pulling the levers. It's about managing people. It's about assigning people to the right roles, as the president has just done. And if anybody can do it, certainly with the secretaries, I've gotten to know him, it will be Marco Rubio.
So, Tammy,
All right, now, were you finished in the sense of
When you get to
second?
this, I did want to ask you about the hoodies, because Secretary Hegseth had a very sharply
He did. So
worded
let's do this. Are you
warning.
going to continue on this line?
No,
we're going to move on. All right. So we've done 3 and 4, and I know. Look, this is and you are going to be all writing stories that I'm going to be fascinated to read. But I think that's pretty much as I can say about the nature of what's going to happen from this point forward today. And so let's go ahead with Andrea and see what else. The Houthis.
Presumably, Deputy Secretary Lando would step up to the daily management here at State. Is this a temporary?
The Secretary Rubio is a very involved, energetic man. Many of you have traveled with him. You see what he's capable of. The American people have seen it. And there's been no point where there is a question about whether or not he could do something or how is he going to manage it. So there's no question about that. But he's not a man who does things in a partial way. and he would not have accepted an assignment if he didn't think he could do it, and he's, of course, working both. With that said, I can tell you that the other leadership in this building, as a newbie to politics, are remarkable. And certainly Deputy Secretary Christopher Landau, never met him, never knew him, and he chairs certain meetings. You see him in the hallway. This is a man with an extraordinary experience, cares about the individual, has a terrific sense of humor, it asks all kinds of questions, and is one of the most transparent people I've met. He's also very, very good at his job with the diplomatic aspect and moving policy forward. He's a remarkable person. And I think you will, whatever had happened today, you would see more of him. And there's dozens of people in a framework of leadership in this building that have made me comfortable to accept this job, to be in this job, to speak to you in this manner. And the Deputy Secretary is one of them, but there are dozens of others as well who I have faith in.
Kissinger model, who is the only other president that I know of who has done both the State Department and...
Well, I guess we're going to have another one. All righty. Now, Matt, let's go. No, wait.
Let them go.
Oh.
Because I don't think you're going to have anything to say. So
Based
go
on
ahead.
based on the insight that you have, do you have any indication when Secretary would have received the call from the president this morning, last night? Anything?
No, I can't reveal the nature of the details of any exchanges like that.
Can I just
All right, so now, yes, back to you in a moment.
subject.
Matt is, you're not ready? He's relaxing at this point. All right, that's fine. That helps me know where we need to go. Yes, go ahead, dear.
Can you help us understand why this reshuffle is happening, or what it says about the administration's policy priorities that these moves are taking place?
I think what it says is what his first term said to people, is this is a man who is very active, day-to-day, involved, knows what he wants to accomplish. Things also sometimes change. I'm not going to guess at the decisions President Trump makes. What we do know is the results of those decisions. And I've said a few times in this room, as people try to look at the minutia of necessarily the why or how many of one thing or a piece of gossip in a newspaper, that what really matters is the end result and what gets delivered. And I think that it is for all of us, whether it's any kind of business, is being able to be flexible in a dynamic, in a moment when you feel the need to be flexible. Clearly, this is the president's decision, and he made it for a reason, and I trust him, and the American people will see the results. All right. Yeah, go ahead, please. Well, now, right after him now, we'll continue, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks so much. In light of your topper on Ukraine minerals deal, I have two questions. May I please get your response to Russian reaction? As you know, Medvedev criticized the president for a deal and called Ukraine, quote unquote, a nation that will soon disappear.
I'm not going to comment on that particular remark. What we do know from this deal and what the president has said and what has been made clear now in this arrangement is that it cements a partnership, an economic partnership between the United States and Ukraine. And it is something that also speaks to the nature of how Ukraine will rebuild after this catastrophe. It is a terrific deal. I think that it is, and again, it's the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, and it involves much more than just the critical minerals. And I think some of the, certainly what I think Ukraine understands and what we intend is that this is not just a financial arrangement. This is a bonding between two countries that will make a difference for a nation, certainly in Ukraine.
They say Washington doesn't blink, but yesterday it did. Inside the briefing room at Foggy Bottom, reporters expected routine updates, half-tired statements, and another round of wordplay over diplomatic talking points. What they got instead was a live wire. Mid-briefing, President Trump dropped a political bombshell. Congressman Michael Waltz, combat veteran, Trump loyalist, and House warrior, would be stepping into the West Wing as national security advisor. And just like that, the mood shifted Tammy Bruce, the new face of State Department communication, sharp, composed, unflinching, was suddenly in a spotlight hotter than usual. She hadn't planned this, but when your commander-in-chief makes headlines in real time, the podium turns into a battlefield. Bruce didn't flinch. She paused, recalibrated, and delivered. Her reaction wasn't just calculated. It was confident, cold, and resolute. She praised Waltz's experience, citing his deep operational knowledge and commitment to American strength. But underneath the polished words was a subtle message. This appointment is a signal to allies and adversaries alike. We are shifting gears. Why does this matter? Because in D.C., personnel is policy. And Waltz isn't just another name. He's Green Beret steel, Florida fire, and Trumpian in every strategic sense. His appointment signals something far greater than a staffing change. It's a realignment of global posture. For Bruce, the challenge wasn't just delivering the news. It was defending the intent behind it. She was grilled immediately. What message does this send to NATO, to Beijing, to Tehran? Reporters knew this wasn't just domestic theater. This was a geopolitical move with ripple effects. Bruce held her ground. No dodging, no spinning, just steel. And as the questions turned to Waltz's views on China, Ukraine, and military modernization, Bruce leaned into it. This wasn't a defensive press secretary dodging bullets. This was a calm tactician turning the briefing room into a command center. Because when Michael Waltz walks into the West Wing, he's not coming as a bureaucrat. He's coming as a wartime consigliere, and Tammy Bruce just made that clear to the world. To understand what just happened, you have to know who Michael Waltz is, and more importantly, who he's not. Waltz isn't your average D.C. technocrat. He's not a think tank strategist or a career diplomat with polished ambiguity. He's the first Green Beret elected to Congress, a man who's walked through dust and fire, from Afghanistan to Capitol Hill. When Waltz speaks about national security, it's not theoretical, it's visceral. And that's exactly the kind of voice Trump wants inside the Situation Room. Tammy Bruce knew this. Her tone in that briefing wasn't just about relaying a press release. It was about signaling a doctrine shift. Her subtle emphasis on operational clarity, on force posture, on tactical readiness. These weren't hollow phrases. They were code to adversaries watching. Buckle up. The U.S. just rearmed its policy arsenal with a battlefield brain. Reporters in the room sensed it, too. One journalist pressed, "Does this appointment signal a more aggressive foreign policy posture under President Trump's second term?" Bruce didn't blink. She repeated the administration's commitment to American strength through clarity and resolve. A perfect line, sharp, tight, noncommittal on the surface, but loaded with intent. You see, this isn't about replacing an advisor. It's about replacing a worldview. Waltz represents something many in Washington have quietly feared, the merging of military doctrine with political willpower. He's not just a hawk. He's a tactician with teeth. And in Trump's America First to .0 doctrine, that's gold. The real question is, what will Waltz do first? Will he pivot to Indo-Pacific containment? Will he lead a hardline reset with Tehran? Or will he steer the machinery of state toward new confrontation with Russia, this time with fewer restraints? Bruce didn't say, but that was the point. What wasn't said in that room spoke louder than what was, and that silence, that was strategy. Because when the rules of engagement shift, the smart players don't shout, they signal. And yesterday, from behind the State Department podium, Tammy B., to understand the shockwaves from Bruce's podium, you have to look beyond Washington. Because this wasn't just a message to Americans, it was a signal flare to the world. Every capital from Berlin to Beijing was watching that briefing, not for what Bruce said, but for what the appointment of Waltz represents. You see, in diplomatic circles, actions are filtered through perception, and the perception here is undeniable. Trump's America is gearing up not just for containment, but confrontation. Let's get real, Waltz doesn't do subtle. His track record in Congress shows a man unafraid to call out weakness, to advocate military deterrence, and to question the old guard's commitment to national power. He's authored resolutions demanding stronger responses to China's aggression in the South China Sea. He's grilled Pentagon officials on Ukraine's weapons pipeline. He's not a dove, and he's not middle of the road. He's fire. So when Tammy Bruce calmly confirmed that Waltz would assume the role immediately, the world heard something else. The gloves are off. Inside the press room, follow-up questions turned surgical. One asked whether Waltz's appointment signaled a harder stance on Iran, a country he's repeatedly labeled a terror-exporting regime. Bruce's reply was textbook measured, but her framing was deliberate. The administration believes in peace through strength, deterrence, not delay. Translation, we're not waiting. Another reporter pushed on Ukraine. Waltz has been vocal about fast-tracking military support while tightening diplomatic oversight. Bruce reiterated support for democratic resistance, but skipped the usual bureaucratic language. No fog, no fluff, just intent. That's what made the briefing electrifying. Not because of what changed, but because everything changed. This isn't business as usual. This is Trump rebuilding his war room. And Waltz is the field general he trusts to navigate a chaotic world order. As Bruce closed the briefing with a thank you, no one clapped. Not out of disrespect, but because the room was still processing what just happened. You don't applaud when the ground beneath you shifts. You stand still and brace for aftershocks.